coming to you from the Spit Studios in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. This is the Spit Sports Show. I had a totally different style discussion video planned on the Vancouver Canucks today because just yesterday they had their first back-to-back win since December 1st. Tyler Myers, award-winning defenseman, 2 points in his return. He looked awesome. I wanted to talk about how good Quinn Hughes is. I wanted to talk about how this might be the spark plug for this team keeping JT Miller and Elias Pettersson perhaps, and maybe going for a playoff run or a playoff push, I should say. But no, because we can never have nice things in the Vancouver hockey market, it seems. An article comes out this morning by the lovely Gary Mason, who I've been reading for a very long time, of the Globe and Mail. And included in it is an interview with the president of the Vancouver Canucks, Jim Rutherford. And to say this was a bombshell of an article would be an understatement. This is basically the confirmation that Canucks fans have been looking for months now on the JT Miller and Elias Pettersson feud. Confirmation that there is a rift, confirmation that this is tearing apart their locker room, confirmation that they can't go forward with both of these assets. So I'm going to read you a couple of these quotes, and I want to start here because this is just, it goes right into my narrative of what I've thought about the Canucks all season and probably what you've thought about the Canucks all season too. It's just putting words to what everyone thought. He said, and I quote, "When you don't have chemistry, it's hard to be that consistent team because there's too much going on in the room for everybody to concentrate on what they're supposed to do." Gary then followed up if he means the Miller Pettersson drama specifically, and he said, "Yes, yup." So basically he's saying Miller and Pettersson have had a rift, and it makes it difficult for the locker room to focus on winning hockey games because they're too worried about having these two personalities connect and not tear everybody else apart. Because I don't know how many of you have ever been in locker rooms like this before, but I have once. And let me tell you something. When you have two guys who are at similar skill levels and same leadership stances on the team, both of these guys are obviously assistant captains. What happens is people pick sides. Whether they actually, pick a side or not, you start hanging out with one group who supports Miller or Pettersson in this case more than another group. And you just can't have riffs like that on a professional hockey team. It's not possible if you're going to win games. It's just not. And Rutherford went on to say even more just damning comments about the immaturity and just unableness to handle a basic locker room situation. So Rutherford said, quote, "We've had conversations to put aside their differences, and I think the parties understand that, and I think they've tried. As you know, sometimes emotions get deep, and as much as people try, sometimes you can't get over it. It certainly appears that's what's going on here." End quote. So that quote, obviously, it's like a jaw dropper. It's like, whoa, they've tried and the wounds are so deep that there's just no way of moving forward. That's harsh, but it begs the question, what the heck is this rift between these two men? Like, my theory on the JT Miller Elias Pettersson drama is it's not one singular incident that has created a rift between these two players. I think it would have gotten out by now. I think that story would have been alive. I think it's more of their personality types. And I compared it to Shaq and Kobe, where in this case, Shaq is Pettersson because Pettersson has all of the talent in the world. He comes straight out of Sweden as what was he, a 20-year-old, and rips up the league. One of the most skilled forwards, fifth overall pick. Guy is just a pure scorer and skill player. Whereas Miller at the start of his career, he wasn't exactly a superstar. He was kind of a third line, two-way kind of guy who had to work his way up and grind his way through the NHL system to eventually get to where he is now as an all-star. And the reason why I compare that to Kobe and Shaq is Shaq relied on his talent to get him through seasons. Whereas Kobe in the off seasons was putting up 6 million shots a day and getting up at 3 in the morning and working out 3 times a day. And that made Kobe resent Shaq because he thought Shaq was just resting on his laurels, resting on his talent. Now, like I said, Pettersson's a very timid personality and Miller's a very alpha dog personality. Again, I feel like that conveys into one guy barking at the other for resting on his laurels, if that makes sense. That's always been my theory. And it appears like my theory has come even closer to being confirmed. Like, this doesn't put a bullet in it, but it's definitely becoming more likely that the rift between these two is just a difference of personality type and work ethic, I think. And Rutherford went on to say, I have to keep reading these quotes for you guys because they are just unbelievable. He said, quote, "We're talking about two of our top players, certainly our two best forwards." Said that clearly. Clearly our two best forwards. "It can be really tough on the franchise, not only present but into the future. When you're planning on peaking this team into a contending team and then you find out that's not going to happen, or at least it's not going to happen with the group we have now, then you have to put together a new plan." So basically, he's just putting everything on JT Miller and Pettersson, saying it's their fault. We had a perfect plan. We were going to be cup contenders, but these two can't figure out their stuff. So now we need a new plan. So Rutherford, I would love nothing more than to have a follow up conversation with Gary or whoever about this because we went full scorched earth on the situation. And now it was reported today that Rick Dollywall, who I want to get on the show soon here, he reported that now it looks like both of them might be traded. So my first question would be, why would you ever do this interview? Especially now after two straight wins where the Canucks have probably looked the best they have all season, beating the best team in hockey and then thoroughly outplaying St. Louis last night. So why maybe it's because this article's coming out now. Maybe he did this interview a couple weeks ago. That's highly likely, to be honest with you. But still, you have to have better foresight than this, man. Like, that's terrible. But what I think it looks like from my perspective, what Rutherford is doing is just completely saving face for when he has to trade one or both of these guys. Like, Hockey Sports Pod on Twitter put it this way, and I really agreed with it and thought it was clever. He said, Rutherford's basically saying, "I'm about to get hosed on a trade so bad, but I want you to know it's not my fault." Yeah, pretty much. Like, putting this out is just dumb from an operations perspective because now it's out publicly for the whole world to see. Your two superstar centers don't like each other. You want to get rid of one of them. You're starting a new plan. You're not going to get any value for these guys. And it's just he's sandbagging himself. And I just don't understand the thought process behind it. Like, he's not helping himself out. He's sure as heck not helping out his general manager. Like, if Miller and Pettersson stock were at an all-time low yesterday, they're at an all-time lower today. Again, these were all whispers and, murmurs from the media that, the players tried to make it seem like this was some media creation. Well, it turns out, nope. We've got this full scale report and interview from the president of the team saying their two best players are at odds constantly and it can't be fixed. So, like, obviously, you're going to have to get rid of one of them, if not both. And there's been some new rumors floated out after this article's come out about trade possibilities. Pettersson's name has been floated around a bit more, and people are saying Buffalo's a possibility for Cousins and Byram. And as much as I love Bowen Byram and Dylan Cousins, like, getting that for your fifth overall pick, supposed to be franchise center, that's just not a good enough return to suffice Canucks fans. I promise you that right now. And just to make matters even worse, just to put some more crap on top of this poop Sunday, like, when asked about Quinn Hughes re-signing later in the interview, Rutherford said, quote, if we were going to completely start over, that means he goes. And we'd like to figure out a way that he's here forever. End quote. So you said 2 minutes before, we need a new plan because our two superstars can't get along. Okay. And then you go on to say, if we were going to completely restart, he would have to go. But you just said we were going to completely restart. But you said if we completely restart, he has to go. But then he went on to say, we'd like to keep him here forever. So which is it? Like, he's just talking over himself, really just making the situation worse and worse when he thinks he's making it better. Like, I don't understand how management can so poorly handle a locker room situation. This should have been a press release. This shouldn't have been some one-on-one interview with the Globe and Mail. This should have been your PR team and a whole group of people around you. Hey guys, our house is on fire right now, metaphorically speaking. What do we do to put it out? And you come up with a bunch of ideas and, you put out a release as a team, as a management staff, if you will. Like, first of all, I think it's management's fault that this went from a little, oven fire to a whole wildfire. I think last year they were fine. Like, last year they were like, again, I think they could have made it to the Stanley Cup final if Demko didn't get hurt. Like, it's so crazy how this just spiraled into a tornado of media circus so fast. And now, again, Rick Dollywall is saying Quinn Hughes, with all of the turmoil and just confusion and non-hockey stuff around the Vancouver Canucks, a lot of people say he might not re-sign in Vancouver. And, like, there goes your franchise. You got a chance with this core to go to the Stanley Cup final year before, and the next year, your MVP candidate might not re-sign, or the year after, sorry. Like, that's just unbelievable. And Besser's a free agent after this year. And, like, really, I don't know if I've ever seen a core get flipped upside down within 7 months the way this core has in any sport. It's unbelievable. And this article was just the final dagger in the heart of this is just a media creation. And they'll just be able to figure it out. Because that was always my take on it. They're two grown men who are both really good at hockey and are on the same hockey team. Figure it out. You don't have to go to dinner with each other every night, but, like, you can figure out a way to not be cancerous in the locker room because you guys don't like one another. But apparently that's too mature for these two. I don't understand. I really don't, because it seems like such a fixable issue. But because, again, management didn't just put a lid on it before, come out to the media, say, no, we're figuring this out. They let the media create the story instead of controlling the narrative themselves. And they screwed this up dramatically. And I have no idea where the Canucks go from here. But right now, as I'm recording this, it looks like they're heading towards a full-on rebuild. And wow, that sucks. That really, really sucks. Yeah, big game coming up. And they still could make a playoff push. Like, if they win the next two and they win 4 in a row, I wonder how these talks start to materialize. Do they start thinking they're going to hold on to some of these pieces? Do they trade them? I have no idea. If you guys could let me know in the comments below what you think, that would be amazing. I obviously love talking sports and responding to you guys, so please do. If you enjoyed what you heard, please leave a like on the video. If you really enjoyed, please subscribe to join the Spit Sports Show. We just hit over 400 subscribers. Thank you all so much. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. And as always, I will see you all in the next one. Peace out.